What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So now that spring practice is basically upon us for most teams in the nation, I figured it'd be a good time to look at some of the biggest quarterback battles heading into next season, with this video focusing on the Clemson Tigers quarterback situation, which is a particularly interesting one to me because of how last year's performance really plays a huge role in who's going to be this year's starter. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the two real contenders for the job here are returning starter DJ Unga, who I will just call DJU or just DJ for simplicity's sake because that last name is too hard to constantly say for me, and then incoming five-star quarterback Cade Klubnik. Now, at the start of last season, most people would not have even seen this as a real potential battle that could be happening, based off of how DJU really played in his freshman season at Clemson behind Trevor Lawrence and based off of his supreme talent and physical gifts that he has. However, after a very up and down and severely underwhelming 2021 season last year, his job is in no way guaranteed at this point, and most fans, and if we're being honest as well, most coaches at this point on the Clemson coaching staff were disappointed in his performance last season, to say the least. He ended with 2,246 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, which is an abysmal touchdown-to-interception ratio. Normally, you want a 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1 touchdown-to-interception ratio for an elite quarterback, but at least you want them to break even to even be considered a decently, performing season for them. Being negative in your touchdown-to-interception ratio usually means you had a very, very bad year, and that is true of DJU last year. He only broke 200 passing yards 4 times in 13 games. He never reached 250 passing yards in a game last season, which is just supremely underwhelming and disappointing, especially for a guy of this caliber with this much talent behind him. Really disappointing to see that out of DJ. However, though, despite this poor performance, that performance wasn't entirely on DJ. A large part of last season, Clemson's offense was bad as a whole, and you can't blame all of that on him. And DJ has a real shot at being the starting quarterback again next year, in my opinion, primarily because of this experience. He's going to have had multiple years in the program at this point and a full year of a starting quarterback role under his belt, which should noticeably improve his play next year with a lot more experience behind him. And like I said, if you consider that the entire Clemson offense last season was a struggle, and some of DJ's struggles, particularly in his numbers, aren't his fault entirely. I mean, there was terrible offensive line play and a severe lack of playmakers on the perimeter, and that limited DJ's performance last season to some extent. It wasn't all on him, although it was primarily on him, in my opinion. There is some other blame to go around. And like I said, he's going to be coming into his next season after a full year starting, so he should improve. And that doesn't even mention that his pure talent is absolutely off the charts, and that last year doesn't change that. I mean, he's still 6'4", 260 pounds. He's a massive man playing quarterback, and his arm talent is just outstanding. He can throw the ball all over the field, plus he's a great running threat, particularly because of his size. However, his inconsistency, accuracy issues, and inability to understand a lot of the defenses that he had faced, they're all going to need to improve, and not just a little bit. They're going to need to improve by leaps and bounds next season if he wants to hold on to that starting job, because last year's level of quarterback play simply will not cut it this year in Clemson. And with changing coordinators on both sides of the ball, he's going to have some issues there as well with lack of continuity. There's also the loss of talent to both the NFL and some through the transfer portal. Although it's not as bad as Clemson has seen in the past, it is still notable. And he absolutely just has to improve in all facets of his game this offseason because, like I said, last year's performance will not cut it if he wants to keep his job. Which brings me to his main competitor, and that is Cade Klubnik, who is a 5-star talent coming in this year as a true freshman, and Klubnik was the number 1 quarterback in the 24/7 composite recruiting rankings. He was a consensus 5-star whose pure arm talent is honestly just jaw-dropping. He is insanely accurate, and like I said, he has the arm talent to make all of the throws you could ask of him. In addition to that, he's a decent athlete who is, to me, very much in the mold of a guy like Zach Wilson. Very similar builds, very similar play styles at this point. He's going to need to add size this offseason. He's still very small, and just adjust it to college-level competition while also trying to learn a brand new complex playbook that's going to be more difficult than anything he's done before, with a brand new coordinator running the offense at Clemson. And so, his path is going to be far from easy. And normally freshman quarterbacks, regardless of how talented they are, they struggle to unseat the more experienced quarterbacks on the roster, especially if those quarterbacks are also very talented like DJ is. But based off of how DJ played last season, Klubnik will have a really, really legit shot at winning this job. And so far, it seems like both guys are being given an open opportunity and an open competition with equal chances to earn the job. And while Klubnik still definitely has ground to gain in learning the new system a lot more than DJ will, he also has the talent to really wow the coaches in practice. This is a competition I could very easily see extending into fall camp and potentially into the season as Klubnik gains more and more experience and DJ gets more time to show that last year was just a fluke and isn't who he really is. Regardless, though, their play this spring will go a long way in determining who gets the job and who the starter will be. And really, it's anyone's game right now. It makes it very difficult to predict who it's going to be. But if I had to say right now, I would say that I think Cade Klubnik is going to eventually win this job, mainly because I feel like last year was such a bad year for DJ that not only did he lose a lot of faith in himself, I feel like the coaching staff to some extent also lost faith in him. Not that they don't think he can be a good player anymore, but still, I think they're going to constantly see and be reminded of last year. And anytime he makes a mistake, they're going to immediately go back to, man, you know what last year was. And I think that's going to kind of weigh over him in a big way here. And then they're going to be looking at Cade, and Cade's going to be making these wow plays, and those can really, really shift the focus of a coaching staff. If you see a couple of those wow plays like that, all of a sudden you start to get excited, and you just naturally are going to lean more that way. Not to mention, Cade is a younger guy at this point than DJ is. He's not proven, but he has significantly more room to grow than DJ in all likelihood. I mean, last year wasn't DJ's first real year in the program. It was his first year as a starter, sure, but he got significant playing time last year before, with Trevor Lawrence going out with COVID and things like that, against elite-level competition in games like Notre Dame. He had all of last year's spring, all of last year's fall camps, the whole season, and then he had this past spring, this whole past season, and now he has this upcoming spring. I mean, he's going into his third year with the program, and I honestly just didn't see much improvement from his freshman to sophomore season. If anything, I saw regression in a lot of big moments, and I think that's not going to age well there in Clemson. And I think Klubnik's a guy who will perform pretty comparably in practice to DJ, but he's going to be doing it as a true freshman, not as a third-year player, and I think that's eventually going to lead the coaching staff into choosing him by the end of it all. But it really is such a close competition in the battle between these two that it's really anybody's guess at this point. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think about this quarterback battle heading into spring, who you think is going to win the job, and why. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave a like because it helps out the channel tremendously, and subscribe to the channel for more college football content in the future, as I will continue to upload very regularly going forward. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.